We got a big snow dump. You can't really tell so much down here how much snow we had, but the day before yesterday, it probably dumped about 2 feet of snow at home. And there's a lot of hardwoods where we are, right? A lot of hard, big old maple trees, big alders. And there's some serious trees that fallen down. You can see one behind me fell in the river too, right? But there's a tree over here. It's about this big around, and that sucker is huge. And it came right across the trail here, so I'm a little nervous. Not nervous, but a little cautious. Because if you're on a noisy quad, one of those suckers cracked, being half deaf as I am, you wouldn't hear it coming down. That'd be a shitty way to go, right? Flattened out by a tree. I'm good. I'm good right here. Sunny day now. Then of course, tree came down, smashed down the fence, and a very kind lady showed up at the door this morning. She lived about 1.5 miles away because she had my horses at her house. And she had a couple horses too, so they all made friends. And then we went and met her and her husband. Very kind people, interesting people with great stories. Grew up in the Yukon and been all over the place. Interesting morning. That's how we've been meeting our rural neighbors, is from the horses busting out. It's the 3rd time now. But whatever, it's all good. So anyway, I gotta make tracks for the mainland. First thing in the morning, got a few things I want to get done. Besides coming down here and torturing myself with this river behind me, still not being fished. Not good. So let's read this one. It's titled Virginia Smell. Steve, growing up, I lived beside a slice of 100-acre, mostly wooded land. There I spent most of my days on the trails I made for go-karts and ATVs. At the rear of the property, there was another couple 100-acre plot wooded as well. It was on this land there was a small pond with good bass fishing. One day, summer of '07, fishing at the pond myself. After being there for about an hour, I remember it got really quiet. No wind, birds, or harassment from squirrels. I began to smell something equivalent to a dead fish mixed with hot raw sewage. I kept fishing, but the smell was getting powerful. I put my pole down and began to search for the aroma, maybe a dead beaver nearby or some discarded fish. I looked around the pond. I know this place like the back of my hand. I found nothing. I went back to fishing with the smell coming and going. After a few casts, I heard a sound that was like a 4x4 post smacking a large oak tree, maybe 40 yards directly behind me. I scanned the woods for a minute but saw no movement. It's still very quiet in the woods. I started casting in the pond. Once again, the sound of a 4x4 hitting a tree behind me. I ignored it this time. Then two more consecutive smacks. Being unarmed, almost a mile in the woods by myself, I thought it was probably a good time to head home. Kept my eyes in the direction of the sound while walking back home. I never saw anything or heard any more smacks. I didn't think much of it at the time. Could have been a crazy person in the woods messing with me. That smell was something else though. Didn't go back for a while after that, and when I did, I had my 12 gauge with me. This happened in central Virginia. A few months after this, I woke up to what sounded like constant thunder. I laid in bed for a minute waiting for it to quit, but it wouldn't. I grabbed my 1911 and slowly opened the back door facing the woods right above the treetops. About 80 yards in was a black helicopter hovering with no lights. I watched for a few seconds, then closed the door. I continued to hover for a few more minutes after that. It continued to hover for a few more minutes after that. Weird, as there is nothing in the woods. No landing zones, building, or structures. Just the pond and trail to it. Not sure if the two are related, just weird. One more thing as a kid. Both brother and sister would hear it too. A sound like drum being hit, much like a Native American dance, just slow, constant beat. The times that I tried to find the source of it, the direction of the drum would change. Thanks again, Zeke. Holy shit, Zeke. That would catch your attention, wouldn't it? Now, the helicopter thing, it's not the first time that's been reported, and actually wouldn't mind, I'd like to encourage other people out there who have witnessed that exact same thing, hearing a helicopter, looking outside wherever and seeing it, where it shouldn't be, with no lights, dark in a helicopter. That would be really, really interesting to hear some more information on those things from all you out there. Really interesting, right? If there's what more can send off your natural alarm bells than an unmarked, darkened out helicopter with no lights hovering in the night over top of the timber, right? And what a stupid thing to make up. I mean, how many people wake up in the morning and go, what should I make up today? Search out on the internet, see if I can find an email address and email my bullshit story about the helicopter hovering over the timber that I made up. Not likely. Thanks again, Zeke. Thanks for sending that in, man. And you know what I'm going to say. When you hear of something, anything that the people can benefit from, get it into us, all right? No holding back, you guys. No holding back shit. Quit being scared. Don't be scared of nothing. Nothing. All right, moving down. Oh, lost it. Must have hit my screen. Simple. All right, what's this one? Short one. Titled Admiral Byrd. I don't have a story for you, but I just watched your recent video where you mentioned Admiral Byrd. There was a YouTube video about World War II, the SS, and Antarctica with Admiral Byrd. It's in German with English subtitles and what looks like real footage. A must-see. Love your videos. The video is called Operation Highjump. UFOs Are Real and Evil by Jairo, Jairo, Para. P-A-R-R-A. JPSMART 59 is the one that posted it. Sorry I did not send a link because I'm not tech savvy, but if you type that in, you'll find it. Alright, Carissa, thanks for that. Appreciate it. And just from exactly what the title is of that video, I'm quite sure it's going to be interesting, right? And I'll guarantee a bunch of people are on their way to go watch it. Hopefully that throws down an extra piece of somebody's puzzle. All right, here we go. We got a long one. I'm going in. Here we go, you guys. Mark it as red, and here we go. And I haven't a clue what it's going to say. 49 years of observations for the learning group. I've paid attention to your videos all the way back, even before your grandfather's story. Nicely done. Thanks. It's taken me decades to want to sit still and compile memories onto paper to share. Just for the record, typing is not any fun for people who would much rather be outdoors. It literally takes so many hours. We're about the same age, you and I. 12 to 15 encounters in 5 different states connected to my life over 49 years. I'm presently 58 years old. In this year of our Lord 2021. Note, 25 to 30 plus encounters connected to me during the 2 springs and summers of February 93 to October 94 in the panhandle of Florida will all be grouped and counted as only one experience. Therefore, some might say that I've had near over 40 total. Over the years, I have sometimes wondered if there's something about me as to why this happened. I really don't know. Regarding self-reflection of this nature, I prefer to remain humble before the eyes of God. Side note, what you call pressure, I have called being vibed. For me, this is totally different from the sense of being watched. With my first being vibed, experience around October 82, whitetail season in the deep, thick forest of southern Mississippi. I've had a couple of rare incidents whereby I noticed 2 different types of being vibed. The rarest and maybe most unreported is what I would describe that of a slight sensation, then overall tingling inside my head around what I would call the area surrounding my brain. The only other feeling in my lifetime that has been closely akin to this sensation was when I experienced real absinthe indulgence in Czechoslovakia. I must note that the absinthe tingling encompassed all of my skin's exterior. This tingling sensation I'm referencing around my brain only happened a few times before these encounters. That location was at Mammoth Mountain, California, by what I can only refer to as the curious tree peakers, which I have noticed 3 or 4 times, plus, during summer downhill mountain biking occurring on different years. I must now note that what soon followed that aforedescribed sensation was the strongest, most intense tummy, stomach, cavity shaking vibration wave that instantly turned into an emotion of great fear and danger. These were definitely far the most intense encounters of being vibed ever in my life. Maybe more on those memories another time. I will today try to recall an encounter in detail of a giant hairy being moving unbelievably fast on all fours directly toward me. This happened in late January 98. The location was I-10 west of San Antonio at about 2:30 to 3 a.m. I was driving a 27-foot U-Haul truck from Houston to the beach in Southern California. The truck I was driving was an F-350 or larger. I remember the hood was unusually high, a little more than 4.5 feet, maybe a little higher. There was some kind of governor for the carburetor. You could push the pedal with your foot 60% of the way, and that was going to achieve your maximum speed. If you pushed your foot further from that point, it seemed like you were just wasting gas and it wasn't going to speed up any faster. So, we're chugging along, trying to get whatever FM or AM station we could on the radio. This is a very long area of I-10 where there are no lights at all anywhere. The only illumination in the pitch black of night was from the headlights of the U-Haul F-350. We were basically headed west when all of a sudden, out of the darkness, something big was coming in super fast from the west-southwest. If my direction were the 12 o'clock position, something big was coming in from the 10:30 to 11 o'clock position directly toward us. It was quickly obvious that this thing was on a collision course for the front left corner of the driver's side of the F-350. Muscle memory had me place both hands on the wheel and the 10 and 2 positions and to softly get ready for an impact. Shit, I think I read this, you guys. Alright, you know what? I'm this far in, I'm going to go the distance. We got probably 8,000 new subscribers anyway, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that haven't heard this. If you had heard it, oh well. I'm reading it again. I'm too far in, and it's a good, interesting experience to share. If my direction were the 12 o'clock position, something big was coming in from the 10:30 to 11 o'clock position directly toward us. It was quickly obvious this thing was on a collision course for the front left corner of the driver's side of the F-350. Muscle memory had me place both hands on the wheel on the 10 and 2 positions and to softly get ready for an impact. I may have taken my foot off the pedal, I can't remember. I definitely kept my heading straight and forward on the road, which is what you do when an animal closely crosses your path. Never veer off. What was headed directly towards me was on all fours, arms and legs. The head remained held high up, mostly looking forward directly at me. I was looking at an awful lot of bushy hair, about 5 to 7 inches long. The hair was moving, flying rapidly forward and backward, opposing the movement of the body of the being. Even with the hair flying everywhere to the top of the head, still seemed coned or pointed up in the center, not rounded. I remember the propulsion as being very unusual. It appeared to me that this being was leaping forward, using the strength of the legs to push the body forward, while in the air, the line of the back was only had about 25 to 30 degrees from zero. Simultaneously, with the legs outstretched behind it, the arms would spring out and forward. The eyes were still able to look forward. The hands would then go down to the ground and start to pull the lower part of the body below it, with the feet just under its butt, touching the ground, just past the hands already on the ground. The line of the back would then be at about 335 degrees before zero, while the head was tilted back a little. It was still looking forward. It looks like a super fast, repeating, vertical teeter-totter motion. It only went about a total of 50 degrees front to back to front, over zero, 25 degrees leaning backward, over to about 25 degrees leaning forward. The butt and the feet were always a lot lower than the chest and the shoulders, and were always much closer to the ground. Now, while the motion of the being was leaning forward and all the bushy hair was quickly moving backward, opposing the body. While the motion of the being was slightly leaning backward, all the bushy hair was quickly moving forward again, opposing the body. It was going so fast that all of its hair would move completely to its full length, lateral to the ground, back and forth. The color of the hair was deep-toned dark red, old rust-on metal looking color. It was akin to the deep tone of red in red rock in the desert. Traveling 62 miles an hour, we would be moving about 90 feet per second. The beast came flying into the illumination of the headlights, heading straight towards me. While on all fours, at the very last possible moment, it veered to its left. It was now moving directly across, very closely, right in front of the truck. The hair was still flying front to back, back to front. His shoulders were partially visible above the hood. At about halfway across the middle of the road, he started to move his left shoulder forward a bit and his right shoulder back a bit. At that moment, on an enormous right hand the size of a first baseman's baseball glove, started to rise above the hood almost to his wrist. The palm was a lot longer than the proportion of the modern human. The fingers were enormous, long and fat. Again, looked like a larger than normal baseball glove. Then the hand started to come down and lie flat just above the hood of the truck, barely touching it. While this is happening, the top of the head started to lean back a little bit and over toward me just a small amount. It did not appear that it was turning its head. It appeared to me he was more moving his shoulders because his right eye was looking directly at me. This was intense to say the least. I could see his nose. It was hooded and wide-spreading, nostrils pointed down. The bridge of the nose was more down than out. The big black eye was looking right at me. There were no whites in this eye. The eyeball had a wet, shiny appearance. At this point, that side of the face was completely illuminated within 3 to 4 feet of the passenger side headlamp. It seemed a heck of a lot closer. The right eyeball was pure dark black. No red or a green reflection color, just black. The entire body then sort of spun around to its right with his hand on the passenger right corner. The truck at this point started to move ahead of the beast. He continued to run off quickly into the dark. My buddy screamed something, and I screamed, "What the F was that?" My buddy then jokingly spurted out, "How's a jackalope?" Jackalopes, a Texas joke of deer antlers on a stuffed head of a jackrabbit. Usually women buy it for the men to put alongside their stuffed animal collection on the wall. I instantly spurted out, "That was a Sasquatch. That was a Sasquatch." We continued our long journey. He is a lifelong friend. He won't talk about it when I try to bring it up. What's new? 49 years of thoughts for the learning group. 1A. Estimated weights have been greatly off. Calculating tension, torsion, and geometry, the power needed to snap tree limbs would take muscle fibers that are a lot more dense than modern humans. More density means more weight. A lot more weight means thicker, denser bones as well. Therefore, I think these beings are actually weighing between 1,200 and 1,600 pounds or greater. These mistakes are easily made because people think of modern humans as a comparative scale. Unfortunately, they are probably mistaken. A developing branch of pre-prototype human from the early Pleistocene probably had denser muscle fibers to evolve into these beings. More on that later. Maybe a lot of the reason also why bones are probably going to be a lot thicker to carry this heavier weight. With very denser muscles and mass and denser, heavier bones, most caliber pistols and most caliber rifles below 300 Win Mag just aren't going to affect it greatly. Just piss them off more. Do not shoot at these fantastic beings. Snapping tree limbs. Do remember a lot of first-hand eyewitness accounts have listed a lot of these enormous beings as measuring 4 to 5 feet across the shoulders. There have also been first-hand eyewitness accounts of the side view of these giant beings having shoulders the size of basketballs. Not all, but a lot, enough to really matter. I postulate that with the extended long palms, they're reaching around these tree limbs and using their upper body weight and massive shoulders to reach around limbs, grab, squeeze, twist, hand, and simultaneously pull and twist shoulders and upper body. That's where an extra amount of exerted torsion will overcome the limb's tension. This exertion would literally loudly snap off green tree limbs up to and over 5 inches thick. This would result in a snapping sound that rivals a lot of rifle shots being fired. This would also allow the ability to pick up 50-pound rocks and hurl them up to 60 yards out, high overhead in an arcing flight pattern. 2A. I've often wondered if the tree structures, tree trunks that float in the air might represent the constellation of stars floating in the night sky as a POV from that observation point looking up at a particular time of year. 2B. I've often wondered if some of the teepee structures were actually more like nursery baby pens so the mother could go out and hunt. 2B1. Orbs. These very well may be the sentient life forms, probably not drones. If this is the case, then there's a credence to the alternate dimension from an unworldly place hypotheses. 2C. Regarding trail cameras with infrared movement sensor lights, it's obvious at this point these fantastic beings can see something in the infrared light spectrum. I mean, it's just way so obvious. A lot of people are even told/directed if they're having some problem beings to put up a bunch of these trail cameras around their property. What does that mean? It means they can see the infrared light emitting from the trail cameras. There have even been many accounts on properties where the stones or sticks were placed as a barrier line not to cross. Otherwise, the perimeter lights would come on or the cameras would activate. 3A. Trying to take a body to present as a specimen. Huh, yeah, right. The people that will only believe if they see a dead body really aren't worth... Let's start that again. The people that will only believe if they see a dead body really aren't worth responding to at all. I concur. They just don't get it, what we're dealing with here. This is an unbelievably stupid idea if you like your life. There is absolutely no way you're going to carry one of the 12 to 1,600 plus pound beings out of the deep woods. Chances are the being will not be alone, and if so, you certainly are not going to make it out of the deep woods. One of just a few of the only reasons you should never ever shoot to kill one of these beings is if they literally are trying to break in your home with you in it. And if that were to come to pass and you were lucky enough to land a kill shot, which probably won't happen, don't think for a moment that you, yes, you, are going to be able to keep and present one of these beings' dead bodies. It will be taken from you. You will have zero control over the matter, or what will happen to you from these bureaucracies and agencies that want to keep this covered up. You are completely insignificant in the realm of keeping this information classified and protected. Yes, you will be completely handled, discredited, and or somehow disappeared if determined necessary. List of possibilities, where they are from. A. Maybe an offshoot branch, form of proto-human on Earth, long before modern humans. From the time before the Pleistocene, if I can pronounce that right, when all creatures grew very big, i.e. saber-toothed cats, giant woolly mammoth, giant sloth, etc., giant bears, etc., yet maybe these big hairy beings made it and survived. They seem to definitely possess all the traits that would allow this to have occurred. Oh gee, the smarty pants academics got it wrong. There's a shocker. We cannot rule out the possibility that they're the original inhabitants of this planet and somehow we modern humans did not completely evolve here as we thought. As we were taught. B. Maybe not from Earth but placed here for some reason. Might answer indigenous people's beliefs to existing in and out of and part of the spirit world. C. Nephilim. Maybe the creator or the sons of gods combined the DNA of modern man, an animal that this is the part animalistic version of Nephilim, which the old men of renown. Nephilim and their offspring were the true giants from the Old Testament that actually existed, or the sons of God concocted to create another type of being with Neanderthal, Denisovian, or possibly an earlier pre-human prototype and or something else to create these big, hairy, fantastic beings. Note, if the above has some reality, it too could be part of the spirit world description. Do not forget that from the Old Testament, the sons of God has still not been completely defined as to what they were. All different paradigms of Bible scholars have their own modern day interpretation of the sons of God. Each and every one of them tries to lump their version of interpretation to fit their own systematic narrative. If you cannot objectively read and interpret ancient pre-Sumerian, your conclusion more than likely will be wrong. D. Maybe they could be something coming from another dimension or place. Maybe they could be something sent through from another dimension or place that arrived here by accident. We're supposed to go somewhere else. Note, the above could be two completely different scenarios. This also could clarify the spirit world descriptions. D1. Maybe they've been here all along, and long before us, existing side by side with us, yet in a much higher or low frequency band that we cannot detect with our senses. This would give even more credence to the First Nations beliefs. I'm kind of warming up to that one. E. It seems like, for some reason, we modern humans are mostly off limits. There are outliers with everything. There are a lot of indicators / stories that occasionally humans are taken. It is by no way unreasonable to conclude that occasionally modern humans are consumed / eaten. However, we probably normally are not on the menu. Could it be a rule to them or something to stay away from us? Maybe they get punished somehow. For that part doesn't make sense to us, in our way of thinking as modern humans. The following is a summation of the forces that are fighting against us. There are at least 8 categories of powerful groups that are all keeping us from ascertaining the true knowledge of the existence of these fantastic beings. Academia, Darwinists, intelligentsia, the different Bible academics, Old Testament Jewish academics, and the New Testament Christian academics. Most of the different religious institutions, a few different government bureaucracies, and the U.S. military. Oh, and let's never forget the deceptive, lying Smithsonian cowards, obtaining, confiscating ancient bones from burial mounds in North America that were above 7 feet tall and all the way up to 12 feet, some larger. Never to see the light of day for regular, hard-working, good, honest people. Continually over decades, disappearing the bones again and again. Their paradigm is non-alterable to them and the above 8+ groups, each and all vying for self-serving, self-interest of their own control mechanisms and levers of power for their own situations. So, are we going to listen to the smarty-pants know-it-alls that are disgracefully corrupted? Academia, Darwinists, scientists, etc., that have really only been looking at studying things for maybe 150 to 300+ years in this area of the Americas. True, eh? We're going to listen to the people that have lived here, or are we going to listen to the people that have lived here for 12 to 20,000 years? There is an unlimited difference in distance of having to study or analyze something for an academic perspective versus absolutely having to know everything you can about everything in your surroundings due to the hard, cold fact of brutal nature that your life may depend on that knowledge. The above 2 information paradigms are from 2 completely different ends of the spectrum of learning. Every indigenous tribes, North America noted accounts go all the way back to and further than Eric the Red battling a tribe of the super-hairy beings. That account was over 1,100 years ago. And now on top of all that, we've got the corporations that want to go global to 186 countries to exert control over humanity, tied in with big tech controlling learning and dialogue to the point of censorship. Big tech is psychologically modifying the behavior of people through weakness and orchestrated group think and fear. When it will be deemed needed, they will be called upon to act aggressively. One reason why some people are so completely refusing to talk about encounters is because it just doesn't fit in their worldview. They believe that they were taught in school, and that's it. That's all that there ever will be and ever was to them. Darwinist mentality, which leads the scientists and smarty pants quackademia. Bracket, I must give credit to the above mentioned quackademia to the late great anthropologist and author John Anthony West. Read his books. A true wildcatter and seeker of true knowledge, way out and beyond expected forced paradigms. John Anthony West was a true hero and shining example of what all men could be. May his spirit and soul bask in the undescribable, glorious presence of God in heaven. Intelligentsia and the elitists are always late comers to the verbal spewing of ridiculousness. On a government and bureaucratic level, some may know the answer. However, they cannot control it, and opening up this door will force them to open many other doors that will discredit them forever. More importantly to them, they will lose their control. Academia's fear is to be discredited and shamed, complete cowards. They fear to have their papers corruptly reassessed through peer review, then lose tenure and their job, and their books get taken out of libraries, and their legacy is ruined. Oh my God! Mentality, their life is over again. Complete cowards. Intelligentsia and elitists, usually wannabes to the very wealthy, they truly think they're better than everyone else, and that they know it all. F them all, until the end of time. Darwinism actually has become a fanatical religion. To them, it's carved in pure black and white with no chance of further postulation, discussion, or scrutiny, which is actually completely against the scientific method. Darwinists are more closed-minded than a snapping turtle. Smithsonian deceptive, liars all the way back to the mid-1800s. This group is in line with the Darwinists and all groups of the Bible academics, and the smarty-pants repeaters of quackademia and the scientists. They continually discredit archaeologists and anthropologists that discover anything against the forced paradigm. They ruin good people's lives in the process. Fortitude, resilience, determination, consistency, collective brotherhood, and bravery as a group will be necessary to overcome this tyranny. Here. Please make it happen right now. Mentally prepare yourselves. Highly possible that we are not capable to comprehend an answer, even if we accidentally stumble across it. Highly possible that we may never figure it out. We absolutely want to know. The search is healthy. The postulating is invigorating. It could be highly possible that a final conclusion may be one that most modern humans really don't want to know. One that could completely upend our modern human existence. However, this is definitely worth the suffering and the fight. Yes, it is. Go ahead and use my name. I don't care at all what people think of me, my memories, my conclusions, my thoughts, or my ideas. Therefore, I am free. Lee, baby. P.S. Happy trails. I love reading that one. Love it. And if you're energetic and actually have some spare time, write us again, all right? Write us again and see if you have possibly come across any new knowledge that you think we might be able to hear, listen to, and possibly take in and relate to. That's a good mouthful, man. That about sums it all up, doesn't it? In a nutshell, our current reality. And all the different various groups this generous person just listed to us about sums it up, doesn't it? And the way out of it about sums it up too, doesn't it? Brave, free people getting ready to and willing to kick some frickin' ass. Right? Tell you what. You know, don't get me wrong, by the time I sit down and start reading emails, you guys obviously see me pissed off quite often in front of the camera, but just so you guys know, there's a lot of laughter and a lot of fun and a lot of healthy things going on at home and with me, with all my adventures and all my outdoor activities and everything else. There's lots of happiness and fun, positive vibes going on in my life. It's just when I take on these emails and then I feel I need to pass on some information to you guys, it's because I'm motivated, and I'm usually motivated because I'm pissed off, right? Man, I've had enough. And I met some new people recently. That are connected with military and law. And just so you know, there's a lot of people in law and in military who are really pissed off right now too, okay? There's a lot of good, intelligent people who are not very happy right now, and they want to do something. And I'll tell you what, cowards are cowards. No matter how much money they have, how much of a following they have, a coward is a coward. And when it comes time to fight, It's the good people that always win, right? The good, strong, honest people, hard-working, honest people always win in the end, so far. All right, I'm going to bite my lip on that note, and we'll cut this one off now. Then I'm going to dig through the phone and see what else I got to share here before I start my road trip first thing in the morning. Be safe out there, you guys. Get that information shared with the people. Quit being scared. Quit be scared of frickin' nothing. Please, please, please share knowledge with each other and as many people as you can, no matter what their stance is on the topic that you're sharing the knowledge. Okay? It's important. And it's important that everybody understands that we need to listen. Even though we may not agree, it is important that we listen to each other and then take from it what you will or leave it. All right? It's very, very important. Be back again with more.